In this episode, we're here with Regan Hillyer, an entrepreneur and personal development coach who helps people achieve the mindset they need to succeed and grow their business. Regan has been in the industry for 10 years and has had an online business for 2 years that allows her to travel and live around the world. Today, she shares what you need to do to take an aligned action and achieve success from within to make a bigger impact with your business.
If you own a gym or you need a gym, this is your guy.
My name's Mike, and I help fitness studios that are ready to take action, work hard, and grow their studios. In this very saturated industry, there's tons of competition, but the opportunities are incredible. We'll cover the most common challenges in the fitness world and invite guests in the show that have learned to overcome them and share their strategies with you. This is the GSD Show.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the GSD Show. And today, I'm here with Regan Hillyer. My name is Mike Arce, and I wanted to make sure you guys understand how important this episode is. This is a transitional episode. We are going on a hiatus after this episode, and I want you guys to start checking out The Bold Show, which is going to be the next thing that we're doing. Amazing guests on that show, and I so appreciate all you guys following and watching and listening in, and we wanted to make sure this last episode was incredible and you have the right mindset to go into the next phase of your journey here as an entrepreneur. And I couldn't think of a better way to do it than with this person right here, Regan. Regan, thank you so much for coming on the GSD Show.
Thanks for having me, Mike. It's awesome to be here.
If there's anyone that knows how to get shit done, it's you.
Yeah.
So I asked you earlier today, where's home? What'd you say?
The world. Literally.
That's a big house.
It's a
big house. All right, so let's talk about home. What do you mean by that? The world is your home. What do you mean?
Well, I feel home in a lot of different places, and I stay in a lot of cool places, but technically speaking, I'm traveling full-time, I'm speaking, I'm running events, I'm jumping literally all over the world.
But some of those travels are just for pleasure, right?
Yeah, well, actually, it's always for purpose, and then I always tag pleasure onto that.
Okay.
So I tend to design it where it's like, oh, cool, I want to speak there, find an event there, and we do that, and then it's like, okay, let's stay there for a week or two.
And this is normal for you now.
Oh, very normal.
But it's not normal for most worlds.
Right.
Right? You get a house, you get an apartment, that's the way it works. So let's talk about normal in the sense that everyone else thinks is normal.
Right.
When was your life ever normal? Was there ever a thing before this where the world was your house?
Right, it used to be very, very normal.
So let's talk about that.
So growing up, I grew up in New Zealand, in Auckland, and I had a very normal family, still do. They live in one place. And they very much believed in education. So they were like, go to school, work really hard, get good grades, follow the system, go to university, college. And so I did that, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. And my dad always said, if I had that opportunity, I would have been an architect. So I'm actually, believe it or not, an architect, even though I've never practiced or worked in an architectural firm ever in my life, but I finished my degree. But it was at that point in time where I actually had a university lecturer come in and get us to visualize our future, like 20 years out. And I started seeing myself in one place, by the way, sitting in a job that I didn't really love. And I started thinking, wow, is this what life is really all about? And that's what threw me into personal development and wealth creation and looking at what is a location-free lifestyle like. Like that's where it really all started, this like huge pain and really just not being satisfied with where I was going.
Some specific examples of where it all started. I mean, I know Tim Ferriss talks a lot about that, but were there influencers that you were like, I can do that because they're doing it, I can do it too?
Yeah, definitely. Well, Tim Ferriss was one of those people. I literally read his book as a Bible over and over and over again. But my very, very, very first mentor was a man who is based out of Australia called Jamie McIntyre, self-made multi-millionaire, pretty well known in Australia and New Zealand. And I was at university and Googling, how do I quit my 9-to-5 job? Now, I didn't even have a 9-to-5 job.
Right.
So I was trying to quit it before I was in it, right? And then I came across an ebook, like I'm this generation, right? And the ebook, I read it and it said something like, the things that I didn't learn at school but wish I had. And that led me to a free 4-day event. And from there, that's when I started seeing, wow, oh my gosh, there's business, there's strategy, there's property, there's this, there's that. And I did a lot and became super overwhelmed, but that's another story. But that's when my journey really started with all that.
So how do you make a living? Where does your money come from to be able to grow? and travel and do all the things you do?
Definitely. So I have multiple different businesses and I invest in property and do a lot of cool things, but my core focus and passion is my education company, which is Regan Hillyer International. And, we started this roughly 2 years ago now, and I've been in the coaching and personal development industry for nearly 10 years, but been online in this business for 2 years. And it was a transition of working initially as a one-on-one coach, getting on the phone, coaching people, maxing myself out, literally creating myself a job, to then speaking, looking at how can I fill rooms and do this in a more leveraged way. And from there, basically maxing that out, even though that business was doing in excess of $1 million a year, I had to be in Australia and New Zealand to make it work. And I just thought, you know what, I want to travel, I want to do cool things, I want to help more people as well. And so then that's what transitioned me online a couple of years ago, because I was so drawn to, wow, it really is unlimited when you start playing with the internet.
Now you talk about education. So we've had people on the show that have demonstrated how people in the fitness industry could use the online opportunity to grow, generate income from outside of just a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
So I want you to imagine this, right? We're gonna put you in a hypothetical.
Yeah.
Imagine your passion is fitness. You just love it. You love helping people get in shape. You love helping people look better, feel better, have more confidence. That's what you love. That's the only thing you want to help people with. But you also know that you want to travel the world, and you want to be able to not have a home unless it is the world. Right? So how do you marry those two things together if you are at that beginner level?
Oh, absolutely. Look, there's two core things I'd start by doing. Firstly, you need to nail your own inner game. There's so many people that are doing strategic things and trying to get into the online world, but they're not aligned to succeed from within, right? And then basically they go out and they do all the steps, but they end up being stuck in fear or self-sabotaging or not believing they can do it, and all this stuff comes up. So you need to do the inner work first. And then secondly, I'd be looking at how do you grow a personal brand around your message? And beyond what do you do in this world, like for example, this person might be a PT, for example, what is your message? Like what do you really care about? Why are you doing that? What is underneath that? What pulled you in? What is your personal story? How do you brand yourself around that and then monetize that message in terms of products and services online?
Right, okay. So let's pretend I want to create kind of like an online coaching program, right? So let's say it's a course on how you can lose 30 pounds, the way to eat and the proper things to start doing with exercise. So we do that. Where do I start learning this stuff? Like what are some resources? Because most people just, the hardest part about getting it done is getting it started.
Right.
Because when I first started my journey as being an entrepreneur, I didn't even know business books existed.
Right.
I didn't know networking was going on. I didn't think about conferences. These things weren't around for me.
Yeah.
And then I started learning, and then I started getting more into podcasts and YouTube videos and all that. So for you, where would you recommend people start that journey of education to learn how to be able to accomplish what you just said?
Totally. Look, there's so many different avenues, so many that people can go down to the point where it's almost overwhelming for some people. But I feel like, if you're sitting at home right now and you know that you're put here to do something big and important and you feel like your message really is here to inspire and help the world, I'd firstly get clear on your vision. Like, what are you actually looking to create in your life and your business? Like, so many people never achieve what they want because they never actually step up and claim what they want. Right? And they're airy-fairy on it. They say, oh, I want financial freedom. It's like, well, how much money is that? Right? And so really getting into those specifics. From there, I'd look at who is your soulmate tribe? Like, who are you put here to serve? Because if you go out there and try and serve everybody, you're going to serve nobody. So I'd be looking at who are these people? Who's the community that you want to tap into and help? But then also understanding them at a deep level. So fitness is a great example. I wouldn't be looking at they're women, they're 25 to 45, they're this, they're that. I wouldn't worry about that so much. I would literally be looking at what are their dreams, what are their desires, what keeps them up late at night when they can't sleep, like what are their deepest, darkest fears, what are the things that they secretly have as ambitions in their life but they're not willing to tell anybody else until you speak to them and they go, oh, how did she know that? Right? So getting into the emotional material behind your tribe, which is going to start magnetizing them towards you when you start speaking to that. And then thirdly, I'd be looking at, okay, within that tribe and that community, what are their biggest problems or challenges or things they want to achieve in their life, and how can you simply move them closer to those outcomes? Okay. And that's where your products and services come in.
Awesome. So what do you help people with the most? Like, who's your perfect customer?
Yeah, so my perfect customer.
Do you call them customer, clients,
we say
members,
tribe member.
Tribe members.
They're totally tribe members.
I know everyone's got their own thing. So tribe members. Who's your perfect tribe member?
My ideal tribe is someone who really believes that they can have it all in their life. And it might not look like that in their current reality.
But they just don't know how?
Yeah, or it's sometimes that one area of life is slightly out of kilter to the other.
Okay.
So it's like, oh, you know what, like I am in a great relationship, but I'm struggling financially, or vice versa, right? And they really want it all across the board. And so they're people that firstly know and believe in the internal game, and they know that they need to align themselves to succeed first and foremost. And then of course they're willing to take massive aligned action, and they're willing to do the work.
What do you mean by aligned self? Like how do you align yourselves? For somebody like you and me, we kind of get that, right? Mm-hmm. You have to get all the things that you want in life and get clear on it. But what's your definition for the person that's like, I don't know what does that mean?
Totally, and I get asked all the time, what does alignment actually mean? I feel like it's kind of a buzzword actually right now. It's been kind of thrown around. I get asked all the time, how do you live in alignment? And I always say, well, what are you aligning to? Right, so remember I said that first step was to get into alignment with your vision. So you need to be clear on where you're actually going. And then it's a very simple question. Oh, should I turn left or right? Well, which way is going to bring me closer to that vision, right? What higher part of myself do I need to bring to the table, which is going to bring me closer to being that version that manifests that vision, right? So again, it's coming back to getting clear on where you're going.
So does that mean saying no to a lot of things?
Absolutely.
So talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely, you have to say no. And you know what, I've kind of learned this the hard way, because some things which are going to pull you even slightly out of alignment, they can be sexy, they can be shiny, they can be wrapped up with a bow, they can be in flashing lights, and you think, wow, this is the best thing ever. And you say yes sometimes, and you run with it, and then you realize 6 months down the track, like, wow, you know what, I wasn't listening to myself. I didn't check in. I didn't say, is this getting me closer to my vision? In fact, it's just been a really great distraction, which has pulled me away for the last 6 months.
Now, do you feel like sometimes you have to do things that aren't in alignment as a stepping stone to get there?
It's a really great question. You know what, I think, Mike, that it's not about doing things that aren't in alignment, but I think it is about doing some things which are uncomfortable. Right? And so I feel like if you're acting in alignment, it's not always easy. It's not always rainbows and fairies and roses, right? Like sometimes it's like, okay, I'm gonna say yes to this because it's in alignment with my big vision, but my knees are shaking and I'm sweating and I'm scared, but I'm gonna do it anyway, right? So that doesn't necessarily mean it's not in alignment. It means it is in alignment, but you need to like get past again your internal limitations in order to move forward.
So let's talk about those limitations. Why do you think so many people have limiting beliefs?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we're humans at the end of the day. I think our beliefs are just thoughts, right? And so we've basically accumulated all these beliefs from our parents, from society, from school, from, so many things, from other people's beliefs, which we've unconsciously brought on board, right? And so we kind of just accumulate them. And the scary thing is that most of them sit under the surface unconsciously, which means they're basically underwriting in control in the background. And what I love to do with people is start bringing some awareness to what has been going on unconsciously. So then we bring it to the surface and we can look at it consciously and go, wow, okay, I'm now aware I have this belief. And then that's when you can play with it. Until you're aware of it, you can't change anything unless you're actually consciously aware of what is going on.
With your most successful tribe members, what do you think is the reason they end up being so successful? What's the driving force behind it?
Yeah, look, I feel like there's multiple different things. I really feel like they do the inner work. I feel like that is the biggest thing. I help a range of people, from people that are just starting out, maybe they're just starting out in their life and their business, and right through to people that are making multi-millions and scaling, so there's a big range of people. But the people where it's not necessarily with the biggest result, but who make the biggest quantum leaps in results and go the furthest, are always the people they're doing the inner work. They're rewiring themselves. They're looking at themselves. They're asking themselves daily, how do I bring the highest version of me to the table right now? What does that look like? How does that version of me walk and talk and act and think, and who do they surround themselves with? And they're kind of obsessed with it, to be honest. And I know I've attracted those people because I'm really obsessed with it, but it works for them. And then the people that kind of get a little bit lazy on it, and their daily practice is like a once a weekly practice, I just see them not move as quick.
Do you think sometimes it's not necessarily laziness as much as it is fear?
It can be, and that is part of the internal game, right? Part of the internal game is recognizing that, wow, I have a lot of fear around this, but how do I play with this? And look, one of the big things I say to people is that there's a lot of people out there saying, here's how you get rid of fear, and here's how you, just diminish all the fear and all this. And it's kind of like, well, hang on, like we're human, and fear is actually a great thing. It's here to keep us safe. You know, if we had no fear, we'd literally walk to the end of the cliff and just walk off, right? The fear is there to protect us. Now, it obviously doesn't serve us when it's trying to protect us and keep us in our comfort zone, because that's not where we grow. So the way I look at it is kind of like you're driving the car of your life and your vision, and you're driving along, and you look around and you can see fear in the back seat, right? And then all of a sudden, when you get closer to where you're going, fear starts to come through, and maybe it covers your eyes, or maybe it grabs your neck. And this is where you have a choice, where you can choose to jump out of the car and go, whoa, I can't handle the fear, too much, I'm just gonna stop the car and get out and stop driving towards my vision. Or you can go, okay, fear, I understand you're there to keep me safe, but I'm in the driver's seat, let's breathe on this and keep going, right?
Do you think sometimes when people start getting into this, because you talk about the flashing lights and all that, I think there's a lot of flashing lights around being an entrepreneur today.
Yeah.
You know, with the Gary V videos and, you know, all the stuff that you see. I think there's a lot of things that people go, I want that. Well, it's almost becoming a thing like being a basketball player, a baseball player, being an entrepreneur. I've had a friend of mine, close friend of mine, that started a business because of that, and then realized that's not what he wanted to do.
Right.
And went back to being a part of a great team. Do you think, or have you had experience where that's happened, where you go, maybe you're not supposed to be this, it sounds like you really like going back to your job. It's what you really like. Have you ever had that?
Yeah, look, absolutely. And I've definitely seen people go on those journeys, and I applaud those people. I really do. You know, Ty Lopez made a great comment the other night here at this event, and I don't remember the exact figures, but he basically said like the biggest chunk of entrepreneurs in their first year, after tax and everything, end up making less than like a minimum wage in America. Like, it's kind of crazy when you look at the stats.
Zero.
Right, I know. It's totally crazy when you look at it, and so you have to really, really, really want it. And this is why I always start with people around defining your vision, not what is your vision as an entrepreneur, because not everyone is. And there's also entrepreneurs on different scales. Like, I get asked all the time, is entrepreneurship born or is it bred? Like, is it something that, you know, you're literally born with, or can you learn your way into it? And I think there's two answers, right? I think really when you look at someone like Grant Cardone, when you see Gary Vee, like you see something in their eyes where it's literally like, holy shit, this person is unstoppable. And you literally see it and feel it in the core of their being. And does that mean that someone who's been in a job all their life, who's a single mom, who's like working 3 part-time jobs, can get some education and learn to make 80 grand a year on the side? Absolutely, it does. But is she gonna be Gary Vee? Probably not. Right? So I think it's about finding your flow and also tuning into your soul and looking at like, what am I really put here to do? And staying, again, in alignment with that rather than trying to be something you're not.
Now, you've had some really great success stories with clients. So tell me about one or two great success stories, like your favorite ones.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. There's really so many. I mean, yeah, I've helped a lot of different people. Now,
when you say so many, think about that. How long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been coaching for nearly 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
So for the last 10 years, you've been helping people break out of their shell
That's
and
right.
find what they want to do and be happy.
Right.
All right, so let's go
Exactly.
back. Top 2 favorite stories.
So, well, one of my favorites is an amazing woman called Nikora, and she actually was in a corporate job for, I believe it was about 18 years in Australia, literally hated it, and she actually came to one of my branding masterminds, and on the first day we said, okay, now we're going to get clear on your message that you're born to share with the world. And she literally said to me, what's a message? Like, that's where she was at. She had no idea about this other world. And, you know, since then, it was about probably a year and a half ago, she now runs her own business. She lives location free. She's actually based out of Bali now, very much living her dream life and helping people. And what's cool is that we took her corporate skills around change management and project management, so very corporate kind of things, and then package them up so she could help entrepreneurs with their systems. So there's lots of cool ways we can pivot, and I love those transitions for those people that are hungry and really want it. Right. And you know, I mean, I could sit here and share lots of big flashy results around clients that were at 1 million and scaled far beyond that, but sometimes honestly it's the small little text messages or the messages I get on Facebook from someone saying, hey, like, I watched your $97 product and I've watched it like 27 times, and you've just really made me think differently, and now I have confidence to go and tell my partner what I really think and what we need to do with our lives. You know, for me, sometimes it's those tiny things where I'm like, this is why I do what I do.
Well, and that's how it is in the fitness industry too. You know, the greatest success stories aren't the guy that ended up with a six-pack. It's the woman that, you know, had 60 pounds to lose and wasn't confident and was able to, you know, drop 30 of those pounds and just be totally changed.
Exactly.
Right? So, question I have for you is, you know, you've obviously not only learn how to make a great life for yourself, but also make a great life for other people. There's a lot of people that are listening and watching. The reason they're listening and watching is because they want to learn. They want to learn how to do things better so that they can be better, so they can have a better life. That's what you do. If somebody wanted to learn more about you and how you can help either them or people they know that they may want to help but don't exactly know how to do it themselves because that's not their thing or don't have the time, where can people learn more about you and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you go to reganhillyer.com, you can subscribe and get all my updates there. But look, I'm on every single social media platform. Someone asked me the other day, what's your goal in life? I was like, well, to be the queen of the internet, obviously. So there's a lot of free content which goes out there on every platform. And yeah, I just encourage you to reach out and say, hi, I'm a real human and I love connecting with you guys, and let me know you came from the show as well.
Awesome, sounds great. Well, with that, I just want to thank you so much for being the end to our season here at the GSD show. And for those of you watching and listening, remember that the education doesn't stop here. We got some cool stuff coming up, but you can now start watching The Bold Show. It's Mind Body's podcast. I will be the host of it, and we're going to be doing very similar stuff, having great guests on like Regan and like many others we've had, and even better ones coming up that can specifically help you in things that you may not know how to do or Regan hasn't specialized in. So keep watching The Bold Show. Go back, watch every GSD show, get in touch with Regan, and man, thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Amazing.
And we will see you on The Bold Show.
See you guys.
That was awesome. Nice
Good?
job, guys.
Yay.
It was almost a sad episode for me.
Why? Yeah, because it's the
And
end.
the GSD show's our first podcast.
GSD was the first ever.
We're 78 episodes.
Thanks so much for joining us today. If you like this episode, then subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher, and to our YouTube channel to never miss an episode. You can get all the links by going to thegsdshow.com. Thanks, and see you next time.